You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, LuchaCentral.com presents Masks, Mats, and Mayhem.
I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
Welcome to another edition of Masks, Mats, and Mayhem. I am your host, Justin Outlaw Harvey. This guy over here, let me make you big. Hey, look at that. It's at Byron Fever. Long time no see.
Catch it, yeah. Nice to see you guys. Nice to hear that we all...
Was that the gimmick? I don't even remember the gimmick.
Huh?
Was the gimmick? Catch it? The
gimmick was I tried to say something, then Casey would be like, hey, you have a dick in your face or something. And you talk over me. Yeah. This was the gimmick.
All right, enough of you. This guy's here. What's going on at Meefloaf? Did I say that right? It's not Meatloaf, it's Meefloaf.
Meefloaf, yeah.
Oh,
because of drunkenness.
The gimmicks never end.
I love that story. I still tell people that story. People who have no idea that you exist, I still tell people about the great Meefloaf and how he got the name Meefloaf instead of Meatloaf.
You tell that story on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of my own stories, so I have to
look. It's been a while since we've done this, right? When was the last time we did this? Does anybody know? I think the last time was. I don't know. Somehow we're edging ever so closely to 200 episodes, but it takes like every now and then. I don't know. We just take like a year and a half off. I don't know why. Why did we take this time off, Byron?
Personal reasons, I think, is what people say.
Well, a few exciting things happened because the last time we did a show, I think Vince McMahon had just gotten fired the last time.
Yeah, we're like, okay, our job is done.
It's done. We don't have anything to talk about. Karrion Kross didn't even work at WWE, I don't think, then. Thunder Rosa was still injured. Mexicans were actually getting wins in AEW back then, I think.
Oh, that's so weird.
That's 84 years.
That seems very and in fact, I'm going to start right there. I know there's a lot. We'll talk about the Vince stuff. We'll talk about the Netflix stuff. We'll talk about the Royal Rumble. But I wanted to start with this one because I think you guys will have some interesting takes on this. So who's doing better with their Latino talent? You've got some great Latino talent in AEW. You've got some great Latino talent now in WWE. What's worse, being a Latino talent in AEW that has to job every week to someone from the elite, or the brown on brown crime that WWE now thinks is a great way to advance Latino culture?
Wasn't it weird in the Rumble how, just say, certain groups would only fight within certain groups?
And I get it. Like, it's the storyline and it's what's going on, but it's like, okay, the Latinos are getting all this great TV time now on SmackDown, and they have been at pay-per-views or whatever, but they're just fighting each other. That's it.
The LWO World War Party between themselves.
Yeah, it's the Latino World War Order. It is. It was nice to see Andrade, though. What did you guys think of Andrade showing up at the Rumble?
It's all right. It's all right until he didn't shake, the hand. So.
Oh, you didn't. Meef didn't like his boy Santa. Oh, look at you!
All right, representing,
repping out.
I thought it was cool, but ultimately inconsequential. It was like, oh yeah, of course, and then who cares? He didn't do anything super awesome. Like anything that he was doing a lot of really cool stuff in his matches in AEW towards the end.
Right.
And I just didn't think anything he did was exciting, except, the whole thing with Santos. But I don't know what that's going to even lead to.
I mean, they really just threw Andrade right into the middle of that storyline only. They didn't say, like, I thought when he came in early in the Rumble that was going to be an indicator that there was a bigger surprise waiting later, that The Rock would probably show up, or that there was going to be some kind of bigger surprise name. Like, I would have saved Andrade for something a little bit later and used him as a little more of an interesting surprise, but they just kind of burned it.
If you're going to use him in the LWO storyline, you have him come out during a match. So like maybe you finally get to Rey versus Santos, and Andrade comes down and does something in that.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a little odd, but
you hold off on the Humberto and Garza for a little while, and then have maybe Elektra, Santos, and Andrade together.
Well, you've even just put Elektra in now too. It's like, is there a Latino left that's not in this storyline?
I'm glad they brought her back. Though,
really?
I'm glad they brought her in because that kind of really sucked for her to like, she's in development and she gets something good going, and then they bring everyone except her out.
I mean, I enjoyed Selena Vega to a degree, but Elektra Lopez was better in that role.
Well, and now she's got it back because Zelina's on the babyface side and Elektra's back on the heel side, so it works.
Because Zelina just kind of cried a bit and threw a shoe. That's what she did. The LWO got very weird very quickly. It's almost like it was awesome, and then as soon as I'll not say what I also call him, Carlito, got involved, it soon kind of devolved into some kind of the old hokey ways of it being watered down, and rather than some kind of group that's going to take over, they were all, we're all a happy family, and like, yay. It was,
they're baby faces, and they wanted that Puerto Rico pop when they were doing the show.
Yeah, and then, but to be honest with you, Santos is miles better being a heel.
Well, I mean, I think now, look, maybe with Andrade in the mix, you can get back to it being a little more Mexican and Lucha Libre central instead of just Latino and Puerto Rican culture, because that was the pop. That was kind of what they were going for. And Carlito's great. It's no problem having him back, but also
fuck him.
I think that Carlito can see his way out of the storyline at any point in time. He's been a top mid-card guy at WWE before. He can work those angles very easily. He can go and work against Kross in his next thing. He can go and work Lashley. He can go and work any of those guys. He's big. He can move. Carlito can still go. Like, I haven't been upset to see him back, unlike Meefloaf. But,
spitting bitch.
You're just mad because he's hogging up your boy's camera time.
The thing is, if he does fight Karrion Kross, that will be Puerto Rico versus Puerto Rico, won't it?
Yes. Kross is somehow on the Latino top 500 luchadors of all time or whatever. You know what's really amazing?
He's undefeated.
I saw, on our social media threads, there's a lot of cross chatter between the Lucha Libre side and the indie wrestling side or whatever. I saw a lot of the Mexican and Lucha Libre fans posting about Kross during the Rumble yesterday. They still gravitate, like, people forget he was a really good heel for a short period of time, but he was a big deal heel in Mexico for a quick minute there. And like, the Lucha Libre fans still seriously respect Kross.
Well, they've always kind of, you look at Vampiro.
Right.
Vampiro, like, he was the most over, all the women were throwing the knickers at him kind of thing. Kross was slightly different. They were just absolutely, because this guy came in and was kind of like the big white dude doing the LA Park rush, like, throwing shit at people, just destroying people and not giving a fuck. And they like to boo that, but they boo it because they respect it. They love that character work. That's not necessarily always in Lucha Libre.
Yeah, I mean, there's a definite respect for rudos and technicos, and it's a simpler art form in Mexico. It really is, and it's like, once you're over as one or the other, like, they love to hate you. Like, they've thrown piss at our boy Kross, so I guess that's a sign of approval. But it was nice to see him. Now, have they decided on a name yet for his faction? Like, have they landed on it yet? It's changed like 4 fucking times.
You know what they're doing.
Honestly, when I saw the tweet of the Purges here, I was like, oh, they just give him a new name now.
That would be hilarious.
Have you seen those movies? I haven't yet.
I feel like it's a better name.
The Purge than the Final Testament? I didn't mind the Final Prayer. I thought that was better than the Final Testament. I don't
think the word final needs to be in it.
The Final Testament is very Judgment Day for me. It's like the SmackDown brand of Judgment
Day. Right.
I would love it if they all grew their hair out long like Kross did, and it's all their promos are basically them in a garage listening to like old, like
Mayhem.
mediocre 80s metal.
Look, I love Kross, but at the same time, I really felt like the ponytail should have held up longer.
Has he
like,
got rid of
if
the
you're
ponytail?
gonna have the man bun, the man bun should be able to last. I think the man bun has the record now for the quickest elimination in the Royal Rumble. His man bun only lasted like 3 seconds. It was really pitiful.
Casey, the Lucha Gringo, said that he looked like Marty the Moth out there. Shout out to Marty.
Marty, hero, superhero. Love that guy.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, you could have gone with the kind of Ronin thing. I know he's got the Ronin hairdo, but you could have done that kind of like, lone kind of thing with Kross. I quite like him having a group, to be honest with you, having some backup. But if they'd kind of gone down some kind of hardcore angle where he literally is actually taking people out and winning matches, that would have been nice.
Well, and now, so is Ellering already gone? Like, has anyone seen? Was he there? It's so weird because it's like Kross is the mouthpiece, but then he's also got a valet with Scarlett, who honestly, the last couple times I saw her in the Indies, wrestles better than a lot of women out there that wrestle. So I almost don't know why they don't let her wrestle some. Like, I'm sure she hasn't really been getting the reps recently, so she probably needs some practice or whatever. But I would start something up with her too. But I'm still a little baffled with this Final Testament thing of like, okay, you've got 3 heaters and 3 valets or 3 managers. Like, it's a strange setup. You've got 3 total bruiser wrestlers, and then Kross, who does a lot of talking for himself, plus Scarlett, who does some of his talking, plus Ellering, who does all of AOP's talking. Like, it seems like an interesting mishmash, and I don't quite know how it's going to work out.
I just wish they could actually pick up the ball with Kross and run with it. Like when he came back and it was like, oh shit, he's going to get involved in. They should have just continued that. They shouldn't have whatever they decided to randomly.
Well,
I know there's obviously things that happened as well, but
and as we get into the Vince McMahon story, I think that was a little bit of the problem. Was the off again, on again Vince-ness. Kross had left, and who knows why, and gone back out and made plenty of money on the indie scene, because him and Matt Cardona that year that he was back on the indies were like the 2 top paid guys in all of independent wrestling. So every time I talked to Kross, and when I saw him here in Cleveland for Circle 6, he didn't seem upset to not be in WWE. He seemed like he was just fine. Him and Scarlett had just gotten married. He was making plenty of money. He had dates lined up from here until the end of time. Freddie Prinze was courting him to come star in his Federation or whatever his wrestling thing that still hasn't manifested was going to be. Like, Kross was not an unhappy individual by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, he was gone. Then he comes back, and he comes back right in the middle of, Drew and Roman, and like right at the top of the game, and everyone was like, what the fuck? Like, it was amazing. But then all of a sudden Vince is back. Like, right when he came back, Vince still wasn't around full time. Then Vince is around, and all of a sudden Kross is getting cooled, and then Vince is kind of back out of the picture, and then Kross starts getting matches, but they're these, like, he gets a setup, he does an interesting promo, and then it goes away.
He loses.
Right, and he loses. And I like the whole thing where he was taking something away from each of these guys, taking something away from Shinsuke, taking something away from AJ, whatever it was,
The Ray was the family thing.
Yeah, and I thought that a longer program with Shinsuke was in order, and those 2 train jiu-jitsu together, and they're good friends, and I thought that they could have worked some magic. But it was, it'll still be interesting to see, like, can they make it stick this time? The last time I spoke to him at all was before this thing started, and all he would say was that he was very excited and had a lot of faith in what was coming up for him, and clearly it was this thing. So kudos to him, and kudos to Triple H for waiting it out and just taking him off TV for a while and rebranding it and trying to find the right thing, letting his hair grow out another inch. And now maybe they've got something.
The other thing as well is a lot has happened, like CM Punk becoming available.
Correct.
That takes up another part of that kind of top tier. You've got I suppose Andrade and Kross are kind of, I would say, on the same kind of.
Yeah.
They're the upper mid-level kind of guys who should be taking the next step on to being, but. So there's a lot of people.
It's a tough market. Let's be honest. Like, this is the most legitimate baby faces I think WWE has ever had. I mean, it's hard to have this many baby faces and actually have the fans stay behind them. Where you've got Cody, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. I mean, it's incredible. It's not that amazing to have Randy Orton. Jesus Christ. Like, how many? No wonder Edge left. There's no fucking room for him. There's no room for the guys that they have.
R-Truth. Let's not forget R-Truth.
And R-Truth. R-Truth is the top babyface in my opinion right now because he's selling T-shirts. Oh, and LA Knight. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Since we've done this show,
LA Knight was literally.
LA Knight has become a thing. Now, I don't know if people who have watched our show in the past, and I don't know if you're monitoring the chat, Byron, or if there is any chat going on.
We got one person who said, "Heck yeah, we respect Kross as a luchador." By the way, so we got a shout out for Luchador Kross.
Yeah,
for Brendan Barr.
Brandon.
What up, Brandon?
So it's like, we used to talk about Eli Drake, Sean Ricker, LA Knight, whatever the fuck you want to call him. With everybody saying.
Biggest star in the room.
Yeah. Byron and I, especially, we saw him out on the indies a couple times. Like, I saw him at Mav Pro. We saw him at FSW or something, or PC.
There's an FSW show. That was the first time we saw Keith Lee as well. That was amazing. But
yeah, I saw Keith one time after that at Mav Pro against Kross, in fact.
Yeah.
But like, Eli Drake was always great back then. It was not a surprise at all.
No.
It was very frustrating when he was doing some of the model stuff, and like, he was great at NXT. I thought that the gimmick was coming along really well, and I'm just not surprised that people gravitated to it because I've seen that guy take a cold room where no one knew who he was and just turn them whichever direction he wanted at the drop of a hat. Now, I think he's better doing heel work a lot of times, so it's amazing that he's a babyface right now, but hey, run with it. Let him be the new Stone Cold. Let him be the new Rock. Who cares? It's great. It works.
The thing is, he does all the simple things.
Yeah.
So it's like he's got 3-4 catchphrases, things that he drops it, and so the crowd can chant, and that's what they love. They love to go there, chant along.
And it's fun. It's participatory. It is. It's and that's part of what's missing from wrestling. It's like nowadays, you got Kross trying to shut everyone down from the what chants. But guess what? 17,000 people wanted to chant what at your ass. Okay, like, life could be worse. 17,000 people wanted to interact in some way or another. Yeah, maybe it was go away heat, but maybe it was Byron's got some weird lighting stuff going on there. But maybe it's just, the crowd wants to be into it. They want to have fun. They want to be part of what's going on, and LA Knight gives them that opportunity. So yeah, again, tons of baby faces right now. And it's kind of impressive and amazing that WWE can maintain something like that. Again, I do wish that both promotions were doing a little better by their luchadors and their Latino talent right now. It's really.
But it'd be helpful if you decided to actually tell them they had a match coming up, and instead of them finding out when the match graphic goes out, live on TV.
Truth
for the next day.
Yeah, that kind of doesn't work. But that does bring me to, and I do kind of want to talk about it, is I noticed the tale of 3 comebacks in AEW. The Thunder Rosa comeback, the Serena Deeb comeback, and the Red Velvet comeback. All 3 of them, friends, by the way, all 3 of them, on the shelf for extended periods of time, all of them dealing with, super serious stuff. And AEW handles all 3 comebacks completely differently. And I've always just thought that, like, maybe this is the WWE programming. You've got the opportunity. And in WWE, we've seen people coming back sometimes makes them a bigger star. Like, I felt like Triple H after the quad injury was on a different level. It made him a real true superstar. Like he had been a player. He was a player in the game before that. But after the quad injury, that comeback right after that was huge.
He showed up with an extra 30 pounds of upper body only muscle.
Right.
But the other thing as well is you can do the whole thing of like they have to work differently now because of the injury, but so therefore they can be more sadistic or more technical.
Right, and they can change it up a little bit. But it feels like, AEW, I don't know if they're taking advantage of some of that. So Red Velvet comes back, loses her comeback matches, loses 2 matches before she finally gets a win buried somewhere on Rampage. And the big difference is now she's wearing an apron or something.
She always had apron.
Was Deeb put up against the Royal Rumble?
Yeah. So Deeb gets the actual promos and stuff leading up to her thing, which feels like, okay, this is the way you do a comeback. They're going to do it right with Serena Deeb. They give her the promos. They run it week after week. They try to get a little bit of interest going for her. And then what do? They drop her comeback match against the Royal Rumble.
But the great news is that there was probably for once more people watching in attendance than there was watching on TV. Wow. So
I do with Deeb. What got
there was 3 people in that crowd.
What got me with
the biggest gate of the last 3 months.
Thunder Rosa had just come back, and she had a tag match that was about everyone else in the ring, and then nothing happened with her, and then there was a pay-per-view, and then they show a returning package for Deeb immediately, which doesn't make sense if you're trying to do a TV show and audience's attention. You're trying to direct it to one thing and have it be special. Then you do the next thing. It just didn't make sense. And then the next week, the next week or so, Thunder Rosa gets another match. Kind of no consequence again. And I never saw a Deeb promo or no one ever talked about her. I didn't hear anything until right before she was going to come back this Collision.
Oh, who was the redhead in WWE? Really terrible wrestler. Eva Marie. Is that it? Eva? Yeah, when they did that whole thing where she's coming and she never
and it fizzled. Right, well, for whatever reason. But I mean, this is 3 comebacks in the course of a 2-month period, and maybe it's the lack of prioritization around the women's division, which I feel like has gotten a little bit better. But I get bringing Thunder Rosa back and putting her in some of those other matches and whatnot because she went out but didn't have a surgery. I think they probably wanted to make sure that she was still good to go and see what level of ring rust was there, whatnot, and just kind of let her feel it out. It makes sense on that regards, and then push her into some singles matches. And I think now that they're doing the rankings thing, she's tacked on a couple of wins or whatever. But I think you missed the opportunity with all 3 of them, just to make them bigger stars or to test the waters, even just to see if they can be bigger stars. You give them a moment, you give them a big comeback thing, you make it feel like it's something, you make it feel like the audience has missed something and not having these characters around. And I think Red Velvet is the biggest miss on all 3 of them.
Absolutely. She had the most room to move up. She's a very familiar, I mean, she's kind of like a jobber character on the show, but she's extremely familiar and popular with the crowd. So you could. But
this was the chance to erase her jobber status.
Yeah, you could do something.
You bring her back like she was always something, and people will forget all the win-loss record from previously.
Yeah,
bring her back. Let her get a couple of wins on Lady Frost or Queen Aminata or whoever. Let Red have a moment.
The thing is, it's okay because they finally addressed not having people there who know what they're doing. Even though I will say the main person there doesn't have a clue what he's doing, and basically they go, "Yeah, wicked," and then don't listen to a single idea.
Right.
We're still just going to do. I'm playing SmackDown versus Raw in my bedroom and writing on Reddit. That's how I like to book matches because people are interested in wrestling. People love wrestling, but people like to watch their dramas.
Well, look,
and even men like their dramas. That's what wrestling is.
I'm to this point. I still like Tony Khan. I still believe in Tony Khan to a certain extent. My problem with Tony Khan is he's a matchmaker. He's not a booker or a television show writer, in my opinion. And I think he could easily solve his problems by bringing in a real booking committee and or television writers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got some guys there. Like, I think Will Washington was doing a decent job for a little while, especially when Collision first launched. And there are some decent storylines in AEW, but a lot of those are pushed forward by the actual talent themselves. And the talent themselves is writing those things. But there's a lot of great talent at AEW that isn't necessarily capable of doing that, or doesn't feel comfortable doing that, or isn't given the opportunity to do that.
I mean,
and you can't have every single talent going into business writing for themselves. That's why you have to have a writer's room.
You look at Brian Pillman Jr. You can look at Brian Pillman Jr. and you can look at Swerve as two examples of that different ends of their spectrum. Or like Pillman Jr., he's a decent guy, in the ring. He has something to him. Right. And he was up and coming. He was still learning, and basically he didn't do anything in AEW at all because he didn't bring anything to the table. He wasn't nurtured. He wasn't like a flower or plant that you nurture and have them grow. And they're just not built for that, unfortunately. And then he goes to AEW, NXT. He's still not a great worker. However, he's connecting and everyone's talking about him. Everyone comes up with nicknames for fans of his now that some he can use, some he can't use. Shout out to all the Lex defenders. But like all of a sudden he's something now and he hasn't done anything. And then you have like Swerve, who's on top of everything. He's a student of the game. He's a student of being an entertainer, and he's doing as much as he can. He's adding muscle to his physique. He's doing everything he can, and he's in charge and doing all these storylines for himself. And they're horribly paced, and they're kind of not told that well because the director, the writer of the show, the guy at the top, isn't telling the story well. There's all these great things, and like you have something that could be 6 months of content rushed into 2 episodes. And then ultimately it trains you.
Spread it out, when we watch, take time, put people into programs. And it's a shame because you see little glimpses of it. It's like Eddie Kingston and Danielson have a little bit of a program going while they're still working against some other people. Cool. Let's do that. That's kind of the right direction. But keep it going, make the story make sense. And they need to do this for more people. Like Swerve and Hangman have a story. I feel bad for both of them because I feel like they both thought they were past that story already.
Yeah, it's weird.
But at the same time, it's not terrible. I'm enjoying it as a fan, so fuck those guys. Like, I'm sorry about your damn luck, but
I do appreciate Hangman throwing in there in the middle of a heated argument. New year, new me, dumbass.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
I think it always reminds me of having a woodworking shop full of all the tools, full of wonderful walnut wood or tulip wood, whatever you want to play with, but having no arms.
Right.
That's what I always find with AEW. It's like you've literally got gold. The people there who, like the wrestlers, like you said,
and his ideas
they literally are great. But like,
that's the thing that pisses me
execution.
off. People's ideas are not bad.
Yeah,
they need to be fleshed out a little more. They need to be written. Like and that's what makes it so hard because I watch it and it's like I don't disagree with what he's doing. It's just not enough. It's not fleshed out enough. There needs to be more to it.
He needs someone.
So you guys will get this as well.
He needs someone to execute him.
I was going to say, do you remember when you were at like college or high school for you guys?
A few years ago.
So when you were sat around and you were making a film project, and the teacher would give you a subject to do or whatever, and you and your friends were just children, and you were like, this is going to be an amazing idea. Isn't this going to make the best, funniest video in the world? And you went and made it, and it was absolute horseshit, but it was hilariously bad.
Yeah.
I feel like AEW is basically a room full of people who are like, oh my God, this is so cool and exciting. Because when you have an idea, it is exciting. But then someone has to go, right, this is how it's execute the word again, executed. This is how it's turned into gold, not just a steaming pile of shit.
Yeah, well, there's they say there's 3 movies that you make, and it could be extrapolated to TV shows or whatever. There's the one you write, there's the one that you shoot, and then there's the one that you edit. And there's 3 versions of that story. And so, yeah, a lot of the times when you're sitting around writing, coming up with the idea, it could be super awesome. And then, you shoot it and it's a lot of fun to do. You're super excited to do it. And then you see the footage and you're like, oh, yeah, you feel the worst you've ever felt in your whole life.
We once made a film called Fat Man Scoop, like Fat Man Scoop, the rapper.
You can't do that anymore in 2024.
But it was basically me being the fat guy, being a drug lord on a scooter, but not like electric scooter, a proper pedal scooter. And it had golden wheels on it, and someone stole my golden wheel, so I was gonna cap them for stealing my golden wheel.
Wow.
And that was a whole thing, and it was so much fun coming up with the idea and writing the crap. And then we were like, and we're going to have a Mortal Kombat fight scene. And then we were like, actually, this is a terrible idea. Let's not do this.
Hold on. So Zeus says, what's this show? Who are you guys? I haven't seen these dudes since Mil Muertes dropped Katrina off the roof of the Lucha Underground Temple.
What up, Zeus?
So true. So true. Zeus, we just, here's the thing. Like, we flip a coin every week and say, are we going to do an MM show this week? And every week it's tails, and every week we say heads. So it finally landed the other way, and so we just did one. We just decided to pop back on. Actually, we might do a couple of more in the future. Our schedules are just fucking, they never line up in general. Like Meefloaf is in some foreign country. We don't even know where. Byron and I are now on separate coasts again, though we used to do the show all the time when you were East Coast and I was West Coast.
Yeah.
But for some reason that was a better time lineup than me on the East Coast and you on the West Coast. That seems to be really tragic for some reason. Just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
There's that weird thing where some weird reason I can be 5 hours behind Florida. You guys in LA are 7 to 8 hours behind, but someone in New York someone like close to LA can still be only 5 hours behind. And
we're not the math podcast.
That just freaks me the fuck out.
I mean, I still can't figure out the first Back to the Future, so I definitely don't count.
I love how time travel movies nowadays, they come up with their time travel gimmick. They even maybe reference Back to the Future or something.
Like
but
I've seen 3 or 4 of them reference Back to the Future. Like Loki did it, and that Michelle Yeoh one did it, didn't it?
Yeah, everything all at once. The one about buttholes, the donut bagel things. But yeah, nowadays all the time travel movies, they always get to a point where they're like,
it's fine. Like
let's just keep doing what we're doing. And
an idea, like who cares? I do have to say this about me. Mention the Dynamite attendance. I've been at several events since I'm not working a show right now. I got to travel up and down the South with that guy stalking me. Fucking
Sting rules. Sting retirement tour.
I finally get a chance to go to a whole bunch of wrestling shows, and it has to be during this fucking retirement tour that Stink is having.
The first wrestler I ever loved, and I have only ever seen him once in person.
Yeah,
you're a Sting fan too, Meefloaf?
Oh god, yeah, Sting's the reason I like wrestling.
Oh
Sting
Jesus!
Rules. Everyone loves Sting. There's no reason. You know who doesn't like Sting? All the WCW wrestlers who got ratted out when he told their wives he was cheating on them.
People who shit on people in 3 ways. That's who doesn't like Sting.
Whoa.
Oh well, we'll get to that too, because that we definitely got to talk about that. But yeah, I've been at several AEW events recently. I got to go to Charlotte, which was a big one for Sting because he actually wrestled that night, and then I got to go to the Homecoming Dynamite down in Jacksonville. And
you and one other person,
the Savannah one, just this past Wednesday. And I got to tell you, that Savannah one, the crowd that was there, God bless them, they were into it. But I just watched some of it on TV. It sounded dismal because for a Dynamite, that like the Collisions, okay, yeah, I expect the attendance to be a little lower. Collision's not quite as hot a show.
Why Why would you tour it though?
And this is the point that Zeus is making right here. Greensboro, North Carolina is sold out for Sting's retirement. Everywhere else is pathetic.
I wonder why that one's sold out. Maybe
they got a show coming up in Henderson where they've sold 980 tickets out of 4,000 in the available seating plot right now.
Weren't they just there a couple months ago?
And it's like, well, that's one of the other problems. I realized, like, I didn't even go to the Charleston show, which is hilarious because I was down at my dad's house, and Charleston is 45 minutes away from where my dad lives. I think these shows in the South were a little bit of a mistake because I think they were oversaturated. If you wanted to see AEW, you know, I went to a bunch of shows because they were all that close, like Charlotte, Charleston, Jacksonville, Savannah. All of these places are within an hour and a half of each other, pretty much. So if you wanted to go to, especially Savannah and Charleston, a week apart, and they're 40 minutes apart. They're
and like an hour and a half in America is like 10 minutes to me.
Yeah, but I mean, they're like suburbs of each other.
Yeah.
Savannah and Charleston are sister cities, basically, just with a state line separating the two of them. So having events a week apart in those two places, it's like, yeah, no, of course no one is coming to Savannah. They just saw AEW a week ago, and you didn't release who was on the card until, you know, a day and a half before. Which if you're Raw and SmackDown, I guess you don't really need to do. Those still seem to sell.
Did they have Edge versus Suzuki in front of like 700 people?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, and the crowd that was there, God bless them.
I'll be honest, that's like a WrestleMania.
Oh man, the overlords here are saying Casey loves Sting. Stop the slander. Casey does love Sting.
Zeus was saying in the chat that Casey also hates Sting, which is very, very funny if you look at a three-way text between Justin, Casey, and me, and it's 80% Casey and me sending Justin Sting gifts.
Yeah.
And then Justin leaving us on red.
And every now and then Vince McMahon chiming in with she's gonna poop. Right?
It's weird how good he was at all those gimmicks, and then
it's not Captain America, but the Hulk Hogan one where he's doing the lie detector.
That was amazing.
It's about him being a pervert.
I showed that to Casey, and he was like, "You didn't even have to edit it."
Amazing. All right, so I guess I'll talk about Vince. The attendance for AEW, it's a thing.
Like I read something about it though.
Wrestling works best when the live gate covers all the expenses, and then all the TV rights, the merchandise, and everything else is extra. You look at a WWE event, the average ticket price is anywhere from $115 to $175 something dollars. That's what it averages out to, and even at the low end, 7,000. You got scratched.
Thanks, me.
Even on the low end, 7,000 in attendance, house shows and smaller places for WWE. If you do the math, 7,000 times 150 is over $1 million gate every time WWE pulls up. Then you look at, AEW, and they're pulling somewhere between 2,300 to 5,000 people on their average nights. And their average ticket price is somewhere between $80 to $130 a ticket. And basically, you're looking at what they're making in an average night is $200,000. It's not covering the cost of driving the trucks up to the venue.
They got 13,000 people on payroll as well. That's just wrestlers,
right? And it's like
sat in catering going.
Warner Brothers Discovery is very happy with them. Everyone who thinks AEW is going away is absolutely dead wrong. AEW is going nowhere because the ad rates are.
I just wish it'd fuck off for a while, Byron. I don't want it to disappear completely. I just wish they'd just go away on it.
Meef is so harsh on AEW, but they're paying so many luchadors to do nothing. Why would you want to stop that for them? That's like the luchadors' favorite
thing. Did you guys know that Daga is part of AEW?
Well, I know.
He's an AEW veteran now.
He eats well.
He's an AEW catering veteran.
He is on the roster in some fashion. I don't know if he's got a full contract or whatnot, but he's in catering once a week.
It's an easy way to tell who's in AEW anyway, because what you do is if you see any form of backstage, you'll see there's a little group of all the Latinos over there wondering what the fuck's going on. Then you've got a bunch of, I want to call them the mean girls, with a certain dickhead dentist. Oh, actually, sorry, dickhead is completely abhorrent word to use in this case. She's a cunt. Okay. And basically, then you've got like all the other wrestlers who don't know what's going on. Then you've got the nice people, and then you've got Mark Henry kind of just going, "I don't know what the fuck's going on." And Dustin Rhodes has got going, "I don't know what the fuck's going on." And Danielson's just like, "I'm gonna go wrestle over somewhere else."
He's just in a wing. He's in the ring training with people, just stretching them like old Stu Hart.
Yeah, but from what I've heard too, though, there are okay. So Brendan, this is the lowdown on this. Dog is on the buy the appearance plan.
Is that show up to the arena or that show up in front of a camera?
All I know is he's been there. He shows up, he gets a check, and he don't do shit.
All right, Zeus. Take it easy, Zeus.
Dago is definitely back on the market.
Yeah. Well,
that's why someone else can't really get a paycheck, unfortunately.
I mean, you considering events that followed her, maybe it's because she spits.
Wow. No, Tessa's working. She's working CMLL. She's got a job.
No, Justin. She spat at a Mexican.
Does she still work? They.
I know she's still working there, but considering her past, spitting at people of color is probably.
Look, her biggest problem, whether she's right now or not, is that she has multiple strikes against her, and people feel different ways about Tessa. Like some people are mad about how she left Impact. Some people are mad about her comments to who was it? La Rosa Negra, right?
Yeah.
And some people are upset about the way her and Daga split up. And so the biggest problem for Tessa is like a lot of people have forgiven her for one of these things, but then people are still mad at her for one of the other ones.
It seems like the most impossible thing, but like when Punk was back in AEW, and this is just what I read. I wasn't in the room, but like the Bucks said they'll do a meeting with him, reportedly, allegedly, if he's chill for 6 months.
Right, which is ridiculous.
It's like that's an unrealistic rule to put on a wrestler.
And that's not wrestling. Wrestling is book it while it's hot, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, let the heat be real. Let the Young Bucks and CM Punk have a moment. Like, make money off of it. Like, do something with Britt and Thunder Rosa. Like, let's see what happens. Like,
I will say, using a brain to do that though. Most people understand that.
Let's have Ricky Starks and Edge go at it. Like, they had that weird little moment, and I heard there was maybe some heat going on there. Like, if so, why are we not seeing that program? I'd pay money for that program.
Yeah, people still will occasionally bring it up and talk about it,
even if it's not real.
Look,
yeah,
AEW is the safest environment to work in, and Tony's dad didn't buy him the company to make thing. He made him very proud. He's very proud of him, Justin.
You're afraid for your life at work when there's 70,000 adoring fans around you to protect you. And then come back and say it's the safest workplace ever. You can't be afraid for your life and work in the safest workplace ever.
When you own the company.
Yeah.
Well, I think
when you're directly responsible for the safety level of the company.
I think relative to the news that we have recently heard in the past week, I think he was saying everything like relative to the other major wrestling company. We are the safest out of the two.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Basically, you're saying Tony Khan isn't going to be involved in a threesome that involves fecal matter.
You never know.
I don't believe. I don't want to speak for anyone. But
I mean, it might be a snowy day.
Yes.
All right. First of all, you're going to call someone out in wrestling for cocaine use?
No, I'm not.
Like,
in fact, I wish there was more of it because I feel like we'd get a better level of excitement at this point.
I don't watch WWE so much. Can you fill me in on this? I don't watch WWE so much. I just don't have 3 hours to watch a product I hate on Mondays. But at the beginning of the Rumble, of the male Rumble, with the Usos out there fighting each other, are they silly boys now, or were they just gacked out of their minds to start the Rumble? Because they were doing some silly stuff.
I mean, it's a to yeet or not to yeet question.
Even like they're selling, all their movements were so like exaggerated. It was like almost HBK Hogan. I was talking about that, and Casey is next to me. He goes, "Hey, if you had to sell for your brother, what would you do? Make him look stupid?" Like, okay, I get it.
I believe that they are delusional in thinking that they deserve a WrestleMania match against each other, because I don't know that it would be very good. They both have this dream of doing this thing, and I think they're mistaken. I think they work better as a team. I don't know if they can take it seriously wrestling against each other. I don't know that they have the thing that a lot of real brothers have, where there is a certain amount of competition between the two of them. I don't feel like they have that like other brothers have.
Yeah.
And in fact, I feel like some of the stuff that they've each done with Solo is actually more compelling than the stuff against each other, because Solo's the little brother and probably does have some real animosity towards these guys.
Because Jay and Jimmy, twins of the same age.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's
they're minutes apart.
Yeah, so Solo's literally like the little brother and being bullied, and little brother.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's going out to prove something, and the other guys are like, "Let's have fun."
Solo,
right? And so I don't know. I don't think you're wrong, Byron. But all right, let's talk about a little bit about the Netflix deal. I want to talk about that for a minute, because the Netflix deal it's important. It's huge. It's a big thing. It's the thing that, I was talking to a group of Jimmy V's friends that are these MBA students, and he talked to them too. And they're like doing this thing about what are the pros and cons of the deal. So they're just asking people that had some wrestling knowledge or whatever. And Jimmy was like, "Oh, you want to talk to these guys too?" Like, I talked to them. Like, I don't know if I really know very much. And you follow all that stuff. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I follow it really closely." And I used to be a client at Endeavor under Ari Emanuel, and I was around the UFC when that deal happened a lot, because I was doing various TV shows and working with the Tap Out guys. And, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll talk to him. I follow this stuff really closely. And of course, this is right before the WWE deal. And the whole time we're talking and they're asking me all these questions, and they're appreciating the insight because they didn't have a wrestling perspective on any of it. What it kept coming down to is like, hey guys, I don't know if either one of your two sides is going to be able to solve this argument when the rights are still out there. That's what says whether or not this was a good deal or not. Like everything else that's happened up to now, very clever. Nick Khan, I think, has done an amazing job. I think he's really shepherded this whole thing from start to finish in a lot of ways. But really the end product of the WWE question, whether TKO is a win or a loss, is what are the TV rights going to be? The SmackDown switching from Fox to USA is actually a loss. And they were asking me, well, how is that a loss? Why is that a loss? It's a loss because of why Fox didn't want SmackDown anymore. They weren't getting the ad revenue that they wanted. They didn't see the value in SmackDown anymore. There's certain advertisers that were still staying away from the product. There were certain things about wrestling that were still uneasy in the marketplace for them, and they just didn't see the continued value, even though the ratings were there. The numbers were there. And wrestling has had a little bit of this problem in general. It's like it gets the numbers, but then it wasn't getting the ad dollars.
Like the Attitude Era, they were the hottest pop culture thing in the world. Football players were doing NWO stuff on like primetime TV.
Correct. But
still,
even
they couldn't make money off it.
Still not getting quite the ad revenue that it was supposed to. But this has been where Nick Khan has been a genius. It's the show being TV PG. It's staying a little bit away from the macabre stuff and some of the black magic-y kind of weird angles that WWE used to do. It's staying away from the bra and panties stuff and
crucifying Steve Austin.
Yeah, it's staying away from some of the edgy stuff. Still trying to be edgy content, but being a lot more family oriented. And some people forget that WWE is like that now. And it really is kind of having a new heyday, because over time they found a way to go back to being like 80s WWE before Undertaker and before WWE had Attitude. Which is great. And I believe at some point in time, they probably will go back into that realm a little bit more, because wrestling is cyclical. But they do have a ton of baby faces now. You do have an LA Knight that's almost at your like Ricky the Dragon level. You do have a Cody Rhodes who's like your new Hulk Hogan. You have these characters that they've built to be similar to how it was in the 80s, and where people are enjoying it, where people are down for a babyface now. People weren't down for a babyface for a long time. It almost killed Roman Reigns' career.
Oh God, the fucking blue eyes and
nobody wanted a blue-eyed babyface Roman Reigns. Nobody wanted that.
It was kind of apparent during both Rumbles last night where the ring just was so filled with baby faces. You almost didn't know what was going on, or you're expecting, oh, there's going to be a monster that comes in and clears house. Here's The Rock, or here's Nia Jax. Nia Jax, also, by the way, still horrible.
Yeah.
I just don't ever, as a fan, want to see her on the screen. Sorry if that offends people.
No, and I'll tell you what, they made it even worse for me last night with Nia Jax, because I found that the Ivy Nile Jordan Grace powerhouse story to be more interesting. I found Piper Niven to be a more compelling monster than Nia. And,
and she can actually work.
Working monster than Nia.
Piper Niven's one of the top. She was one of the top independent workers before she got signed.
And I don't think that Nia's terrible at cutting a promo. I thought some of her stuff with Becky recently was decent and well done. But Nia just doesn't work on a lot of ways. She gets go away heat. She really does. And I don't know why they haven't been able to see that. I don't know why Triple H, of all people, sees
She's
something
more
and
interested
bringing her
in being
back.
a mouthpiece, isn't she?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a Nepo thing. I don't know, because she's in that whole family.
I just think people don't like watching her work. I think as a fan, it comes down to you don't like watching her work. And she's been reckless enough to where, as fans, you see her hurt people, like the Stevie Richards video. And also I'm not alone in saying Kairi Sane is
doing it.
Yeah, and Kairi Sane is one of the most beloved characters in WWE. Everyone loves her. She doesn't offend anyone. And publicly, Nia Jax concussed her and hurt her real bad. And so people aren't going to forget stuff like that. Riddick Moss, by the way, I don't like as well, because he injured Hideo Kenta. He injured Kenta in NXT after Kenta came back from a bad surgery. And I was at a show where Moss couldn't even work. He was getting booed so hard. He couldn't even do heel work. And
this is my thing. I would be
100%
down to forgive Nia or any wrestler if I thought there was a compelling way for them to tell stories with that character. There's no Nia Jax match where I'm looking forward to her next spot, because it's going to be the same spots I've seen a million times. There's only a certain way that the other talent can work her. And Piper, however, her run with Chels was great. They've found ways to keep her interesting where it doesn't feel like it's just going to be the same match. So it's not because Nia is a big girl. It's because they can't find a way to work stories with her. Omos has a similar problem, but they make Omos go away and just bring him back as a special attraction. I'm fine with that.
He was great.
Yeah. You know what you're going to get from Omos, and if you use him the right way, it's fine. Nia has to be the same way.
The great thing about Nia last night was her getting thrown out by Jade Cargill.
Yeah, and Nia can't work, so she kind of made that spot look bad.
No, Paula, it is true. Your eyes do not deceive you. Meefloaf does still have a weird mustache.
Always. And a child.
Yeah. So this Netflix deal, if you go back in time, the start of this whole story, and it leads to the Vince stuff too, is Vince McMahon being offended at the low offer that Universal gave him to buy WWE several years ago. This is why Nick Khan was hired. Nick Khan was hired to make WWE a more attractive property commercially. It wasn't because of ratings. Nick Khan was never brought there to bring ratings up, and people have to stop thinking that ratings matter. Ratings only matter in so much as they get you ad sales and sponsors. If you can't get ad sales and sponsors, it doesn't matter what the ratings are. Or in the case of AEW, if you can get ad sales and sponsors, it doesn't matter what the ratings are. Because they have the exact opposite thing going on over there. They get great sponsors. TNT is very happy with them. They're selling ads better than most of their programming, and it doesn't matter that their numbers are going down because they're still getting the same ad revenue or better. So who cares if it's a 1.2 or a 0.8? If it still sells a commercial for $700,000 for 20 seconds or whatever the fuck they're selling them for, Great. They don't care. But Vince was having a problem getting sponsors. If you noticed, pay-per-views didn't have in-ad sponsors. Slim Jim was nowhere to be found. They were gone for ages. Like all these corporate sponsors were gone. The ad revenue wasn't there. And this is part of why Fox was willing to say, okay, SmackDown's been good. We love you guys. Thanks for being here. But we're going to pass on it at this time. And USA was like, okay, we're going to switch it up and we're going to go with that show. It fits our budget. The rights that you're looking for out of Raw are becoming out of our price range again. But we would love to stay in the WWE business. And believe me, when I say this, SmackDown is going to go back to being a B show because it's not the one that's getting paid the most for anymore. USA is not making demands like Fox tried to make about certain big stars being on there. SmackDown is going to go back to being a B show. Raw is going to go back to being primary content, and especially if they keep it 3 hours, you're going to see that show loaded with more, especially the first year. It's a big deal going to Netflix, and it's an opportunity. But once Nick Khan came in, you saw a few things happen. The network idea got bought out by Peacock, which was a great deal for them. They got 1.5 million subscribers. There was some crossover there, but not a ton. It saved them as a digital platform, and they needed that. And most of those subscribers came in at the $10 amount and not the $5 amount. You know, and that drop off has happened. A lot of the people have switched to the ad version, but I still have the $10 no ad version because I was already paying that for WWE. $120 a year. For 12, 13 pay-per-views, to me, that's a bargain. I'm one of these guys that's used to paying $40, $50 a pay-per-view.
Yeah. I don't know how mine works out because basically I had mine on my telephone, like as part of my mobile deal for BT Sport.
Right.
The BT Sport then is now part of Discovery Plus, which is part of Peacock in some form. But somehow, I think I was supposed to get 12 months. It lasted for at least 24, and it's still going.
Don't tell them. Don't just make sure you don't say anything about it publicly.
It's okay because now I have BT TV now, so basically I have it all anyway. But it's quite funny.
Well, and those rights are going to be weird. So, but for WWE Premium Live events now, starting next year, you're going to have Netflix, Meef, because
well, I already have that. But also that they announced in the beginning of January was that I can watch NXT now live again on the WWE.
Why?
So before BT bought it out
for
like the last 3 or 4 years. So now, it's actually you can actually watch it live, whereas before you could only watch it live if you had BT Sport.
Well, it is a bit of a game changer though, as these digital streamers start coming into the mix. If they can do things like what we're talking about here with Netflix. If they bring it all in for you, Meef, watching wrestling becomes easier because all your premium live events, Raw, are going to be right there in Netflix. It's global. We're going to get Raw here as well on Netflix. And I imagine eventually when the rights come up 3 years from now on that other deal, maybe it's going to go all into Netflix. I mean, Netflix is obviously going to probably put in an expanded bid to get the library and all the premium live events. They'd be crazy not to. And if they can house all of it and also steal away potentially 1.5 million customers from one of their competition, and what Raw, Netflix has stayed away from live programming forever. No one has understood why. Amazon's gotten into it.
They do football.
Peacock's gotten into it with sports, especially. Paramount Network's gotten into it. Everyone else has gotten into it. Even Apple has gotten into it, and they looked at buying the rights to the NFL package. A lot of people were bidding on it. No one thought that Netflix was even in this game.
No.
But they had to be in it more than anyone else because there really was no reason.
It wasn't a Korean or Indian drama, so I would definitely think they were going to buy it.
True.
I mean, Netflix does have some good stuff, but they don't have anything that requires you to have that year-round subscription. You sign up to Netflix for a couple months, here and there out of the year.
They started becoming the service that you drop, right?
I dropped Amazon because whilst Amazon Prime was wonderful and magical, the TV was just everything you had to pay for anyway. So I was like, oh.
Well, Prime doesn't get dropped by me now because of Thursday Night Football. And I'm going to watch Prime every Thursday, which is why it was a great choice for them. Now Netflix is definitely not going to get dropped by me, at least not in 2025, because I'm going to watch Raw every week.
Is it just Raw you're getting in America on Netflix?
That's all we're getting is Raw.
Because I think here, where it's going to be where all the premium live events
premium live,
yeah,
you're going to get all new premium live events. Everything else, all library stuff will still be, those rights will still be other places, but yeah, you're going to get.
But to be honest with you, like apart from every now and again we have the odd feeling to watch old pay-per-views. I'm not going to sit down and watch an old 3-hour pay-per-view, to be honest with you. So, like, to be honest with you, I'd probably drop the network and just Netflix is, even if it goes up £5, it's only £5. So
right, you know, hey, look, it's always nice when we get international viewers. Mr. Crosby watching from Ghana.
Oh, so he's watching from Ghana, which is one of my favorite places in the world because they had a footballer called Tony Yeboah, who played for Leeds, and Tony Yeboah scored some amazing goals, and he's one of my all-time footballing heroes. I love Tony Yeboah and the Black Stars of Ghana, because that's what they're called because of their shirts. They have a big black star on their shirt. Byron.
What?
Byron.
I'm not familiar with soccer. Sorry.
It's not the Final Testament. God, come on, man.
You would think that someone would be like, "Hey guys,
hey now."
Like, I get what you're trying to do, but this is what you're doing. Anyway,
I like this Netflix deal. I think it does. It's $5 billion. You know, so where we're at right now, NXT is going to the CW. SmackDown is going to USA, so you will still have cable wrestling. It just won't be on Mondays anymore, unless they flip-flop and put SmackDown on Monday and Netflix does something else with Raw. Because they think it's probably going to stay on Monday, but they haven't determined it.
It just makes the most brilliant business sense ever because, like, here, it's all on BT or Sky, whatever it was over the years. So people have to. So now it's going to be on Netflix. So you don't have to pay £40 a month. You only have to pay what you're already paying for Netflix. So you're not actually paying any more. You know what I mean? People already have Netflix, and Netflix is, how many subscribers to Netflix is there? Jesus Christ.
A lot. And globally it's growing. In the US, it's kind of capping out and wavering a little bit. But this is the kind of thing that helps. And the other big benefit to Netflix is they have trouble advertising. They have a lot of good content. They have content coming up, but how do they get that out there to other people? Advertise on their competitor networks, which a lot of times they can't even do. They get frozen out. So they have to buy ads through the local cable company that then go into the shows on those networks. They have a lot of billboard stuff or whatever. But for Netflix, it makes sense because this is destination programming that's going to get people to show up every week. And the trick for Netflix is going to be, okay, when I show up for my weekly dose of Raw, they've got to put stuff in that deck and push me stuff in that app when I log into it that lets me know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They got and their app is set up lovely for it. I mean, the Netflix app of all the digital streamers is still by far and away the best app.
Apple is the worst.
Apple, no, I find Prime to still be the worst. I hate the way Prime is set up.
It's the worst. Yeah,
I feel like
Disney is kind of shit too, getting better, but
I think with like the ratio of like good quality versus how much you even know it exists, I think Apple is the worst because I think they have some really, really good shows that never see the light of day.
They're just buried in there. That's the problem with Prime. I just go scraping down. It's like, and if I want it's on Prime, right? I pay money to it. I know it's for delivery generally, but I can't watch any John Woo films because I have to subscribe to another channel. So this is why I hate Prime, because it's a subscription service that requires you to subscribe to other subscription services.
Well, it's not that, because Prime has stuff in it. The problem is the fact that they're showing you all of the other stuff that you can also get as an ancillary product.
Or in my case, I can buy Lucha Underground, but I can't. It pops up on there. It shows it up available. So when I click on it, it goes, "Oh, sorry, the rights are in Europe. You can't have it."
I'll send you. I bought it. I'll send you the Daily Motion links. You can watch it at 360.
No, they're gone now.
The Daily Motion, that was my life back in the day.
A lot of them are gone now. It's very hard. If you don't own Lucha Underground in some fashion, either digitally through Amazon or have the DVDs, it's pretty hard to watch them now. A lot of those old episodes have been pulled down, and nobody's really trying to put them back up.
It's a shame.
Anyway, I believe that this deal is a big thing. It shows that the deal works well. I'm interested to see how it works out because it was a big missing piece of the puzzle. I didn't think they would get that much for the rights. Also, part of the deal that a lot of people don't know about is that Netflix has the ability to get out of the deal after 5 years if they want. Which is great. WWE does not have the same. They have to stay in it, but if Netflix wants out for some reason, they can get out, which makes it a very smart business decision. But it also shows you how confident TKO and Ari and Nick Khan were about the deal, that it could go through this way. Now, that being said, I believe they've known that the Vince McMahon lawsuit was coming for a long time, maybe even since before the deal. I believe that they've known this other shoe was going to drop. I believe that part of the entire play by TKO and Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan was, and maybe Vince, was, is there a way to offer Vince McMahon a deal that he feels comfortable with, protects his legacy as much as is possible as this guy who created a brilliant wrestling world and culture and product, and still find a way to push him out and give him a lot of money? I believe that that was the case from the get-go. That was the deal that Vince was looking for, one that protected his legacy, that maybe still gave him some power and control, and also a certain amount of money. I don't think that TKO, Endeavor, whatever, was ever the best deal out there. There were other deals that financially were more lucrative, but they would have pushed Vince out immediately. They would not have given Vince a chance to keep his legacy, and they would have done everything in their power possible to erase him from that legacy as much as possible. They wouldn't have mentioned him much. They wouldn't have talked about him like he was the genius who founded the whole thing. They would have taken away the good parts of Vince McMahon almost immediately, especially if it had landed with Apple or Amazon or one of those companies. He would have been written off entirely immediately. It probably also would have pushed out Hunter and some other people that were connected to him. I believe taking Hunter off the board was very intentional, and it was done for the exact opposite reason that everyone thought when it happened. And I think I mentioned this when we were podcasting a long time ago. Taking Hunter off was done intentionally to isolate him from Vince McMahon, from him being the son-in-law, to give him his own identity. Yeah, he just works there. He's not a McMahon right now. Take Stephanie out of the company, let Hunter just run creative, so that once we do have the right moment to push Vince out, then we can slowly start putting Hunter in. Hunter will then be able to take the legacy of Vince McMahon in a good way and look like he is the savior of WWE, that he wrested WWE away from his evil, father-in-law. And then maybe they even bring Stephanie back at some point in time, but they've kept them away from it. And to me, it feels very deliberate that this Vince news fell right in between a big event, but not their biggest of the year, a big event, and the $5 billion Netflix deal announcement. I think it's genius to put it right here. Yeah, it sucks. It's a black mark on the company. It will be for all time, just like the steroid scandals back in the late 80s were, just like all of the other weird sex scandals that Vince had, just like some of the weird deaths in China and this, that, and the other thing. All the black marks are going to stay black marks. But when you have these surrounded by all this other stuff that just shows that the business is, yes, Raw is leaving Peacock, Mr. Crosby. Internationally in 2025, Raw will be available on Netflix to those of you who live in other countries, as well as here in the United States. And all of the premium live events will internationally be on Netflix now, Mr. Crosby. That is the word. That's the deal. So yeah, I really kudos to Ari Emanuel, to Nick Khan, to the people that orchestrated this for real. I think it's genius, and I don't think it's done. And I think the biggest coup yet is going to be the rights deals for the rest of the premium live events, for the library, for what is currently WWE Network. And the other part to that people don't realize is that UFC's rights with Disney ESPN are coming up around the same time. So there's going to be a big marketplace decision here, and it's going to determine whether or not premium live events and pay-per-views, what those mean in the future. UFC is like the number one pay-per-view company in the world right now. They're behind a double paywall. You have to pay for ESPN Plus, and then you have to buy the pay-per-view.
Are they like $80 each?
Insane. And they're like $80 a piece. And they sell.
And they underpay their talent still.
Yeah.
Correct. They pay far less for talent than WWE does. Those events are way easier to set up and put on, less production trucks, no entrances, which I think hopefully now that they're merged with WWE, I think they should add a little more pomp and circumstance to their entrances.
I mean, I'm just going to say, everybody needs Canelo entrances.
Yeah. Like even early UFCs, when the Gracies came out with the Gracie train, that was better. Or even Tyson's entrance where he had music and he came out with the belts over his shoulders and stuff. And something about it just was more magical than what UFC does. UFC's entrances are not enough, unless it's an Israel Adesanya doing it himself or this, that, and the other thing.
You can't beat the classic. Obviously not now. Michael Buffer doing the big
even. Bare knuckle fighting even has better entrances. One championship has better entrances. Everyone does better entrances than UFC to me.
And also, there's nothing better than when someone has an amazing entrance and then gets sparked out in 5 seconds.
Right. Like, I don't care. Like, give me
the most enjoyable things.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, so when these rights come up, you're going to be looking at a situation where WWE and UFC are now one company. Do they negotiate those rights together? Does WWE go to a double paywall thing where now you have to go back to paying $100 for a WrestleMania? Because I'm here to tell you, WrestleMania is leaving money on the table.
I can't believe it's free.
It's insane. It's insane that.
How much was it for you guys in the 90s?
I think it was up to $60-$70, right?
Yeah, I think ours was like anything from 15 for I want to say the smaller ones up to about 30 for
right. For WrestleMania was more expensive than there. I think WrestleMania and SummerSlam and maybe Rumble were a higher price, and then the regular pay-per-views were like $40 or something. And then WrestleMania, they started increasing that. But then
even
when
we went to Sky Sports,
the app.
Mm-hmm. Even with Sky Sports was still for the oh god, yeah. I would say up until about 10 years ago, you were still having to pay for them here.
Yeah. But so it'll be interesting because, maybe they stay this way where some streamer is willing to offer them enough money that they don't go back to the pay-per-view model. Clearly for Peacock, it's been worth it right now. And, what's going to happen to Peacock if they lose WWE? They're going to lose probably 1 million subscribers. Can they afford that? I don't know. Does Peacock even exist without WWE in there? Given they have all of Universal's other stuff, but I don't know. It's going to be a big blow to them. So they're going to make a big bid. Netflix is obviously going to make a pretty big bid to try to do here in America and basically own the entire PLE system, plus the library, which I think will do them some good. They've had very good luck with library stuff, and maybe they can even package it certain shows certain ways and get more oomph out of pre-existing WWE content. And I think it would be nice to just be able to find that shit in the Netflix app personally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go watch old episodes of Breaking Bad and then, watch Royal Rumble 92, whatever.
Do you think one of the streamers can afford to buy the entire WWE, UFC, TKO empire? I mean, do you think that's even affordable?
No, well, and that's the weird thing. And that's why a lot of people didn't think Netflix was going to be in the game. The way that the rights came up maybe is brilliant because no one could afford to buy the whole thing. And this is why TKO is in there right now. TKO basically bought WWE to manage WWE as opposed to buying the entire rights empire themselves. A lot of these other offers and things that they were looking at, like Amazon wanted the whole thing if they could have it, but the rights weren't all up at the same time. So they have to piecemeal buy it together.
So you get a discount.
Yeah. And so it's really weird the way all these rights are coming up at different times. Now, this year was the best year to get the biggest chunk, because if you really had wanted to make a big move, you could have gotten Raw, NXT, and SmackDown and Global PLE all at once, and the company, but that's not what happened. TKO got the company, and then they still are selling the rights. Then they sold the SmackDown rights, then they sold the NXT rights, and now they've sold the Raw rights, and
they've
in
made their money back,
they'll sell the PLE and network rights.
They've just about made their money back, haven't they? Now,
they
buy it for $9 billion.
Yeah, they bought it for $9 billion, and between the SmackDown and Raw deals, they're pretty close. I mean, realistically speaking, with merchandising and how big the next WrestleMania is going to be, and this, that, and the other thing, yeah, they're doing fine. It's showing up as not. It's not quite showing up as not in the red, and they don't necessarily want it to yet. They want to have some of that write-off, that write-down for the year. But in business terms, it's looking like a profitable deal.
And obviously the payment's probably going to be spread over so many years.
Right. And look, when the Peacock deal is over, that's another big cash in. And that cash in should be bigger than this Raw cash in, because WrestleMania alone is $1 billion a year business that is basically being given away right now. And they needed to. And Nick Khan, again, is a genius, because they could have kept that one event double paywalled if they wanted to. They could have sold network and still said, yeah, but you got to buy WrestleMania. That was always an option. Even once they sold it to Peacock, they could have held WrestleMania aside as a separate thing. They didn't, but it's part of what the free advertising was that allowed Vince to get the sale of the company. It was like, man, you got to give this one away for a while. I don't think they're going to keep doing that. Somewhere along the line, somebody has to pay a premium for WrestleMania. It's either us, the consumers, or it's some other company for the privilege of having us consumers that will come and watch it for free. But somebody has to pay the premium for WrestleMania.
It's the Saudis. The Saudi deal pays for WrestleMania.
The Saudis offered a great deal, and they turned it down. And I think that's because the deal that WWE already has with the Saudis, they love. They do a couple events over there. They give the tourism board a push. They do the whole Saudi washing thing for
sports
them
washing.
Exactly the way that they want them to. WWE does it. It works. The fans have grown accustomed to it, to the point where wrestling fans aren't bitching about it like, golf fans were bitching about Live or some of these other sports. We've grown to accept it as a necessary evil for our favorite superstars to get paid. Sami Zayn has gone over there now and given it the thumbs up. So, us wrestling fans, we're kind of okay with it at this point, I guess.
Well, to be honest with you, as someone did famously point out, that if you were to have a problem, it's a bit like boycotting Starbucks. I get it. We're not going to go into that one, but I get it. Well, that's all I'll say. We all know where I stand.
Berea Pasta is the same way. Chick-fil-A, Berea, Starbucks.
Saudi Arabia literally owns
the Saudi events for
three-quarters of the
WWE.
world. They literally have even if it's minor investments, every company will have some form of investment, some money wrapped up in it from Saudi Arabia or some other genocidal backwards regime of some other country. I mean, we live in the UK and America, so we're not exactly
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're okay. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll get by. All right, Vince. What do you guys think? You guys tell me what you think about the Vince thing.
He didn't kill himself.
Well, here's what I think about the Vince thing. I read the what is it? The list on DVD-R, all the rumors and stuff. The one that Casey talks about all the time, the one that TK probably put together allegedly in his DVD-R posting days. That's why I'll always root for him, because he's one of us. None of that stuff that Vince did surprises me. It's just like all the Hollywood things, when all those details came out, it's like, yeah, that was happening. And none of you gave a shit. None of you gave a shit that like Bill Cosby was doing whatever. People talking about it openly like every 5 years. And everyone's like, I like
You
him.
look at the comedy skits that were always going on. And everybody was nudging a wink,
you look at how Vince acted, and you look at the stories and all the other books about how Vince was like one of the boys, and basically wrestling, no matter what, was always this wild west, without rules, without law, sort of carny playland. And you see Vince on TV on his main show with one of his top stars, Trish Stratus, telling her to bark like a dog. And to this day, she won't say anything more than like, I wasn't really, super enthusiastic about doing that. And you have all these people he made out with every woman who worked for him on TV in front of his wife during the Attitude Era. All these things. Like, first of all, you look at where do these creative ideas come from? And then you also look at how is he so good at telling Trish to bark like a dog in front of a lot of people? He seems very comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's none
like
of this.
Edgar Allan Poe was really good at writing what he wrote because.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm not surprised by any of it except for it coming out and being taken seriously. And I hope that it continues to be taken seriously. I hope, honestly, like Bruce Pritchard and all those guys are out forever. You got to get Vince out. I don't know what other wrestlers were involved. I have theories that probably are wrong. But Vince is like family with a lot of people. He was like family with Brock. Who else is involved? Right? Like it's just there's a lot, and it still needs to be dealt with, because right now, like what Jessica was saying, this isn't a hammer being dropped on someone. This is just another step in a plan. But everyone on the inside has known this has happened, and it has been happening. Triple H knows. Okay, I'm alleging, I'm guessing. But how does his son-in-law, who's a student, he's such a smart guy with the industry and with the company,
I would have had to be around him.
At the very, very least, he's married into a family, and at the very least, giving him the most benefit of the doubt, because he was always like the designated driver of the clique and all that stuff. For all that could be said bad about him, I don't think I've ever heard of him doing too many bad things in the Vince regard. But at least he'd want to know, what am I getting into? Married into the family. What am I getting into trying to run this company?
Him and Stephanie were involved in the investigation the first time around, and the rest, all that's coming out of this is that the investigation, they found nothing, but there's a lot of sweeping done in it. So I think, and obviously Stephanie left directly after that investigation. So I feel like they found out and were like, bye. Obviously Triple H, like Justin said, was isolated away from, therefore being involved with that after that. And then
Triple H said he didn't read anything about the
he doesn't need to read it though, does he?
Lawsuit.
He doesn't need to read it. He knows.
No, it also it covers your own mess if you don't do that. But it's Stephanie. It's just it's there. It's objective timeline where she was there. Everyone, especially on the corporate side, everyone loved her. She was a great person to work for. All that stuff.
Child stuff, didn't she? The benefit stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. And then she pieces out and comes back specific points in time.
Right.
Where WWE tells stories.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Here's my thing right now. So here's the thing. I am absolutely disgusted and appalled with how Triple H answered that that question last night. He talks about the accolades, he does this, that, and the other thing, and then finally somebody asked the question. I was a little Emily Mailer, by the way. I was really disappointed that she gave him the softball question before that. Her question was still very good, but that she didn't hit him with the very first question, I thought was any real journalist. And I like Emily. Emily's great, and she does a lot of work with Mission Pro and all these other places, and she's great. But at the same time, I was really disappointed. I wanted the first person that asked him a question to ask about it. And honestly, I wanted WWE to address the elephant in the room on their own. I didn't even think they should have waited for the question. But the fact that Triple H was asked the question and his answer was as bad, if not worse, than when TK was on Ariel Helwani. It is unacceptable to me that any public-facing, forward-facing CEO or upper-level member of a corporation of any kind does not know how to give the appropriate non-answer. And the way that he gave his non-answer, I found to be disgusting. I thought it belittled the circumstances of him saying, well, I just want to focus on the positive. Okay. Tough shit. You want to focus on the positive, Paul. That's nice for you. You're a fucking millionaire running a very successful company that's just made some huge business deals. We get it. We get it. But there's also a way to answer the question. There's also a way to have some sensitivity. There's a lot of your fans, viewers, colleagues, and employees that have an issue with this. And for him to push it aside the way he did, and this might be a hot take, but fuck you, Triple H. I've been very pleased with a lot of stuff that he's done. I think that he's run the company brilliantly. I don't know and or care what his involvement was with this stuff. Maybe he has some culpability, maybe he doesn't, but I'm just taking away all the he said, she said part of it and just looking at what he's done that we publicly know is on record and what we've all seen with ourselves. And he's done a fabulous job with the company. He's done right by a lot of friends of ours that, you know, he's put them in great positions. Love all of that. Love what he's done with Santos. Love that he's still helping Kross, even though the Kross experiment hasn't always gone well. Like, we love the guy for these reasons. I like what he's doing with Damage Control and that he had faith in that thing and he's given Bayley a shot still. I love that he let Jordan Grace come into that Royal Rumble last night. These things are huge. And Jordan Grace was amazing, by the way, in the Royal Rumble. And I'm not even a very big Jordan Grace fan. I loved that was to me the best part of this whole WrestleMania.
I saw a tweet specifically about that on this topic where they wondered why Triple H had a prepared Forbidden Door slight for the presser, but was not prepared in the slightest bit, it seems, to address the other thing.
It's crazy. It's crazy that he didn't. And this is not hard. All he has to say is, here's the problem. The question came at him, not, you know, how's the company doing in light of the Vince McMahon allegations, this, that, and the other thing. The question that was posed to him right off the bat was, what did you know at that time during the previous investigation? I mean, that really put him on the spot. But even then, the answer is still very simple. It's not, I just want to focus on the positive. It's not this, I want to bury my head in the sand answer. It is, you know, the company is going through a difficult moment right now. We've had some great successes this week. Unfortunately, there have been some new accusations that have come out. I can't really address them right now, but all I can say is that I want to assure our fans, our colleagues, our coworkers, and our talent that we're very seriously looking into all these matters, that, you know, hopefully there will be a good resolution for our company, and that we hope that our fans and everyone involved in the product will still trust that we'll bring you guys a great product and that we take all of this very seriously. Unfortunately, because of the fact that this is a legal proceeding, I can't comment any further than that, but I want everyone to know that we take these things very seriously. He didn't put any importance into the fact that people care, that people have feelings about this. It wasn't about his fucking feelings. Nobody cares about your feelings, Paul. No one cares that you want to focus on the bright side of life. You know, that's not what it's about, bro. And this is how these people get in trouble. This is why Joey Ryan is still canceled. You know, this is why he's never going to be redeemed, because that guy got canceled. He got Me Too'd and didn't say the right thing ever. Triple H did not say the right thing. And it wasn't about answering it. It was about acknowledging it. Mm-hmm. Acknowledge me, Triple H. Acknowledge the fact that I'm mad at Vince. Acknowledge the fact that people who work in your company were scared of this man for years. Acknowledge the fact that it hurt your corporate business. Acknowledge the fact that your sponsor, Slim Jim, had to turn their back on you and walk away to get you to realize how bad things were for them as a company, that it hurt people, even just the accusation. And even if the accusation is unfounded, you still have to acknowledge that it hurts. You can't just acknowledge that you did great things last night. Yes, Royal Rumble was great. Yes, the Netflix deal is great. Yes, TKO owning WWE now is great. Yes, your booking has been great. Yes, Vince McMahon most likely did some very vile and awful things in association with other executives at your company for decades. It's Acknowledge me, motherfucker.
Thing like when we had the Savile thing over here. And it was like, yeah, but like he did some good stuff, didn't he? And it's like, yes, it's like Michael Jackson. Obviously, Michael Jackson is technically in a court of law, got away with it. I mean, was found not guilty. And he, it's that thing of, yeah, but his music was all right, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, and some people, the music gets canceled too. Like, the R. Kelly doesn't. The music,
but R. Kelly's music was shit anyway. So.
You'll still hear quite a bit of, but
let's be honest, R. Kelly's music was dreadful.
I mean, that I Believe You Could Fly thing and the Ignition remix, that was, no. Just saying.
I nearly didn't watch Space Jam because of that.
Well, good. But if there's an excuse to not watch Space Jam, that's probably good. By the way, shout out to Trailer Park. I was down there in Savannah, Georgia the other day. Had some shrimp and grits tacos.
Shout out to Justin's pecs and lats. What are you doing, man?
What's up, man?
I don't know if they are pecs and lats.
Look at those shoulder boulders
in the gym, baby. Yeah.
He's got one last run in him.
You just wait, because I'm next year. This is 50 pictures. Gonna be killing it. That's my whole goal. I got 1 year to get jacked.
And then this is 51. You're gonna look like us again.
Hell yes. I am going on vacation. I'm going to be sitting on an island drinking Fat Man drinks. Inner Fat Man is coming out. I
keep on sending him the worst things ever, though. I keep on sending him lots and lots of videos of absolutely over-the-top food.
Yeah, So here's my whole take on the Vince thing. It's like, okay, he did it. He didn't do it. I don't care. But there is a 67-page legal document out there cataloging these things that may have happened. It is a public thing. It is public in the business circles. It is public in the entertainment circles. It's public in the internet wrestling community. It's public, period. Everybody knows. You can't go into a press conference and be the first person to publicly speak from your company, get asked a direct question about it, and tell me you'd rather just focus on the fucking rainbows and sunshine. Fuck you, Paul Levesque. That was bad business. That was the worst piece of business that WWE did this whole week. It wasn't the Vince scandal. Vince did the bad stuff already. The new worst piece of business that they did was Triple H mishandling that.
Interesting to know if anybody's supposed to really actually handle him on that kind of brief him. So surely there's got to be some legal there who would brief him. Right, this question's going to come up. This is what you need to say and do.
Oh God!
What?
Sorry.
You like the pecs, baby? What's up?
Forget it. For people listening to, I guess, the audio version, if that is happening, people in the comments are talking about Justin's pecs, and Justin is ignoring the topic at hand and just reading the comments.
It's not like it's a serious topic or anything. It's fine. Anyway, I don't know. I was just really let down by that. I've been really happy with Triple H in general. I was really let down by that moment from him. I just thought he'd do better. I say the same to TK. There's no reason for the non-answers. There's always a way to answer. There's a way to answer with sensitivity and to not sound like a dick. And if you really can't talk about something, that's understandable. Yeah, okay, you don't want to blow the kayfabe on MJF, and somebody's asking you about the MJF contract. You say, you know what you say? You don't say, I just can't talk about that. You say, look, Max is a great talent for our company. We love what he does here. We'd love to find a way to keep him around forever. Who knows? I can't really discuss if that's something that we can or can't accomplish at this point in time. It's something for the lawyers to figure out. But we're really invested in having him be a part of our family for a long time. That's all you have to do, TK. And same for you, Triple H. All you have to do is say, man, we know that the news that came out this week hurts a lot of you. We're going to take it very, very seriously. I don't tonight want to take away from the great accomplishments of all the wonderful talent that we've had out there, all the people that still show up to do their jobs and that are working really hard for your entertainment. But at the same time, I do feel that you're concerned. That's all you have to do. It's simple media training. I used to teach a media training class when I was working at the NFL. I would run my talent through it. It's very simple. Speaking in public, there is no such thing as a non-answer. There is no such thing as no comment. There is no such thing as the Fifth Amendment.
I was saying, might as well just pleaded the Fifth.
There is no such thing in public because you're being tried right then on the spot. And AAA, you're guilty. You're guilty of being insensitive at a very sensitive moment for your company. I find you guilty in the court of public opinion. You fucked up. Now you have to pay the price, which is being insulted on MMM show, which I guess isn't that heavy a price to pay. So
I hope you can sleep at night.
I don't know if he'll be able to. I think he'll be fine. He'll wake up just fine tomorrow. I don't know.
Sure, it'll be all right.
That's all I got to say about that.
I have a question if we don't have another topic to go to real quick.
Yeah.
So I think everyone had number 30 on the men's rumble earmarked for a certain bald muscular dude who could probably only work 3 to 5 minutes now.
We'll talk about this though, because me and Justin were more interested in seeing Rhea Ripley win the men's Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, that would have been awesome. But
I think it was a missed opportunity. But yeah, in light of the current scandals going on at WWE, maybe it wasn't the right time for Rhea.
Yeah, but I mean,
I smell what you're cooking though, Byron. I smell what you're cooking.
But so The Rock has a lot of stuff coming on, and there's a lot of especially now we're heading into the road to WrestleMania. You need clear storylines that we can start promoting. Like everyone knows, Cody Roman, even you're gonna throw some curveballs in there, you know that's where you're going to end up. Rock shows up, does a bunch of stuff that's stupid, and then says one line that shook everyone head of the table. So it's like, okay, Rock Roman, this is the match that everyone's kind of been expecting for a long time.
You've gotten it wrong. You've gotten it wrong, Byron.
What is that?
What is he? It's exactly what's happening. He is taking the head of the table from the top star in all of WWE history. From Vince McMahon. That's right. He got his way onto the board this week. Maybe they'll name him chairman at some point in time because they don't have a chairman right now of the board of TKO. There is no chairman.
Figurehead.
There's, Ari is the overall top guy at TKO, but WWE itself does not have a chairman right now. So maybe that was the table. Maybe it was just a different table. Maybe we're all wrong. I'll tell you what, though. I'm a little surprised at doing the Cody thing. I thought that as much as everyone wants to see Cody finish the story and this, that, and the other thing, that
there's too much going on.
Roman is not losing at WrestleMania regardless of who it is. So I'm almost disappointed that Cody won the Royal Rumble and that they didn't do a surprise with Rock coming out, because I feel like Cody's going to go to WrestleMania now, face Roman Reigns and lose again. Or maybe they find a way to do a 3-way with The Rock in there.
The referee.
What's that? Rock is the
referee, and he screws over Roman to knock him off the perch.
But he's not going to. Here's what I see happening with Roman Reigns. There's an event coming up, in Berlin. I think a couple of days right before Roman will surpass the Hogan number. I think that for the overall legacy and story of WWE, they have to get Roman past Hogan's number. I think they need to move Hogan down the list. I don't know if they let Roman get all the way to the Bruno number or whatever the top number is, because that's another couple of years.
I think Bruno's another 10 years, isn't
it? So I don't know if it's that long, but it's up there. There's also ways to write off the Bruno number, because I believe part of that number was during the WWF years. So I think they want to get him past the Hogan, though. Past all the WrestleMania era, like in the WrestleMania era, in the modern era of WWE, Roman would be the top guy. I could see Roman versus Hogan at that Berlin event to get past him on the number, just like MJF getting past Kenny Omega. The way that, AEW kind of did that, doing the bigger, better version of that. I think that's the story. It's not Cody's story. It's Roman's story. It's WWE's story. And WWE's story is that right now, this era of WWE is the best era ever. It's better than the Attitude Era. They've got more champions. They've got Gunther, who's the #1 Intercontinental Champion of all time. They've got Roman, who's on his way to being the #1 heavyweight champion of all time. They've got Cody, who's this top babyface selling merchandise. They've got all the, all these stars, all these things, all these big deals. That's the story that needs to be finished. It's not Cody's story to finish. So I feel like, unfortunately, Cody winning the Royal Rumble, and I love Cody. I want to see him beat Roman Reigns. I want to see that story. That's the story I want to see as a fan. And guess what? That's exactly why they probably shouldn't do it. Everybody wants to see that. And everyone knows the money's in the chase.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as Cody wins it, what
then? Yeah. What then? I'll be ready to see Cody drop that thing before SummerSlam.
What's Cody's? Because he's not going to run. His next dream is to beat Roman's record. That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, I want Cody
for Cody to face at this point in time once he does have the belt.
I would absolutely love
strong baby faces is because you have a dominant heel.
Him win it and then Priest cash in on him.
I see. I personally want Cody to win. I like to see it, and I think it'd be a great moment. Back in the NXT days when it was black and gold, Sammy had this tremendous babyface chase. Pac Neville was the champ, and they did this really great story. And Sammy, and they even borrowed like an old classic moment where Sammy is the ultimate babyface, and he's in that match, and he can take a shortcut. And they've done this before, they've done this after. And then you're like, you want him to win, but you also want him to be the ultimate babyface. And anyway, Sammy has this incredible match with Pac, wins the title, and the ring fills with everyone. You have that moment. And that's the moment you want with the babyface winning. People put
Sting beating Hogan thing.
Put Sammy on the shoulders. They ran around. Guess what? Sammy's best friend, who just got hired and did an opening match against Juice, comes out and gives him congratulations and all that stuff. And then immediately Sammy barely gets to leave the ring as champ, and then he gets double crossed by the next dominant heel champ. Right. And that's Triple H's. That's like Triple H's NXT. That's old school storytelling. I'm happy with that. And then that can also get Cody. And I don't mean at WrestleMania end it with Cody getting powerbombed by Kevin Owens, but I mean something like that. Yeah, there's money in the chase. But then you got to do that. You got to switch gears into the next thing. So then Cody needs the next iteration of what Cody Rhodes is at that point, because at some point the story and babyface Cody is going to be contrite, and you're going to want to see NWO Hollywood Hulk Cody.
I mean, I guess
that would be good.
I guess that's my whole point, though. It's like, what do I need Cody for if he's not in the chase? What do I need Cody for with the belt? I don't need Cody to be champion. I need Cody to be all my dreams and wishes and desires of being a champion. And then eventually,
Sammy was going for it, isn't it?
I mean, at some point in time, I need him to hoist the belt so that his daddy ain't in heaven crying. Sure, I need that. But I only need that for 1 second.
Yeah.
That's it. That is the end of the story. And God, why would you ever end the story? Why would you ever be a company that tells stories 52 weeks a year and want to tell the end of a story?
How old's Cody now? Like 37?
Yeah, 38, 39, somewhere there.
So to be honest with you, that story's like 10 years away. 5-10 years, you'd want.
I mean, and yeah, so maybe you let him have the belt at some point in time, but I don't know. I think it would be cool if they find a way to keep pushing him down the ladder and make you like it. And that would be genius storytelling. If they can find a way to not put it on Cody again, And if The Rock is involved in that way, I think that's a great story. Like, you got screwed by one of the all-time greats, and then he still has to keep fighting his way back up. I don't know, man. I just like it makes it difficult, because then if he wins the other belt, you feel like it's a cop-out. So it kind of limits him in that regard. And with Roman's limited schedule, that's going to be tough too. But I feel like after another year, maybe you do put it on Cody. I don't know, because his contract's going to be up, and then they'll keep him, but he'll go on a more limited schedule too at some point in time. You know, he's also going to be that guy.
I was going to say, the only real rival left there for him that anybody would want to watch is probably Seth Rollins, and no one knows what's going to happen to him. You can't plan long term with him now.
No, I mean, Seth
you
is always going
to come after Cody, could you? Because, you know, let's be honest, he'd be injured 2 months after that.
And clearly, Seth is going to have another heel run. They're going to need him as a top heel at some point in time. Like, Seth's days as a babyface are clearly numbered. And I hope they don't push CM Punk that way. I think really when they do Seth versus CM is the chance to push Seth back to being a heel. Stick with a babyface CM, and then you can have your Cody Seth rivalry come back of, yeah, remember when you showed up and beat me at every premium live event we had for like 4 months straight? Well, fuck you. I'm a bad guy. Let's fight. Because people have kind of forgotten that, but yeah, dude, Seth, ultimate jobber of all time. Just nasty job to Cody. Job to Cody with a
he literally has only one arm right now, because they were like, cheers for doing that.
Yeah, Seth is the purple titty eater. I mean, he's what, Byron? What? Like that's in poor taste? Like, out of everything on this show, that's the thing that's in poor taste? All right.
That's the thing that went too far.
It was a bit much.
We'll see. Okay, so Elimination Chambers, obviously the Rhea Ripley show. It's got to be some kind of showcase for her, but also they still have quite a few matches to set up for WrestleMania. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I like the fact that I did not they had me believing that Cody was not the obvious choice last night, that Cody wasn't the right choice at all, that either Gunther was going to win and challenge Seth, or that there was going to be some kind of double count-out schmozzy thing with CM and Cody that we have to resolve later. I did not think we were going to get the clear Cody victory like that. Or my real prediction for yesterday was I thought Jade Cargill would win the women's, which I knew she was going to eliminate Nia. I had that feeling deep in my soul. I'm glad they did that. That was good. I would not have minded if she won and they did her versus Rhea at Mania and Rhea beat her. I do realize that setting it up right now is bad, though, because they have to put Rhea into something in Perth that's big, maybe even bigger than whatever she does at WrestleMania. So, you know, she's going to sell those tickets there. She's the draw there, and that is her WrestleMania this year, is Elimination Chamber. So expect big things from Rhea in the next few weeks. But I really thought The Rock was going to show up. I thought he'd show up 30, maybe 28, somewhere in there. And I thought Rock would win. And it would be Rock versus Roman at Mania. Maybe you get a 3-way, Cody, Rock,
the Rock would be the classic 31, you know.
Even that too.
But it didn't happen. They went with the clean win for Cody. Cody is the guy who can call the shot now.
The crazy thing with that, the female, we'll just go back to the Jordan Grace thing, was like how much WWE made her look like a superstar. Like,
she made herself look like.
No, but what I mean is the way they kind of booked it to, like, she actually lasted quite a long time.
She did, but she didn't get any eliminations.
No,
she didn't put anyone out, which is great. The fact that you barely even remember that part, but
yeah.
Here's why she looked so good. They had her face off with Ivy Nile and do similar spots.
Poor
Jordan
Ivy
looks better than Ivy Nile. Yeah. You know.
Ivy was, as soon as she hit the ring, you could see she was nervous.
Right. And here's Ivy's been coming out in front of 17,000 people every week on freaking, big WWE events. Jordan's been performing in front of 2,000 people at Hard to Kill in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? And yet Jordan seemed more ready for that moment than the homegrown Ivy Nile, who's been getting big opportunities on big stages on TV. You know, and I don't dislike Ivy. Ivy's got a great story, by the way, if you haven't heard. I mean, she is just a girl who worked her way up. You know, she started bodybuilding in her house, you know, teaching herself at home bodybuilding and whatnot. Like, she's done a great job. She's an amazing human being. Love Ivy. Amazing story. Don't like some of Jordan's story. Don't like some of Jordan's past, some of the things that Jordan's done. Jordan's been an absolute idiot at times. And I am so fucking proud of that woman. Like, what she did yesterday made me a fan. She was put in the spot. She was put in the moment and did the exact right thing with it. Did not let anyone down. She was a champion for everyone who's out there on the smaller promotions and the smaller shows. And I believe she's got a long-term contract with TNA right now too, which is part of why D'Amore and those guys felt comfortable letting her do that, because she can't just up and leave them and go to WWE after that great performance. And I don't know what Naomi Trinity Fatu's deal is. Is she done with Impact? Is she actually going?
Yeah, she finished. WWE? She finished with them like a couple of weeks ago, didn't she?
Yeah,
she did
makes Sasha look like an idiot. Mercedes Moné.
The moment was because I forgot she was from Florida as well, and it was like, yeah, her nearly bursting into tears. Was just like, okay, I'm not a big fan of her work, but like, actually, there's a moment again, as we always talk about. That's the clip.
And she's been around for a long time. I mean, she really is a veteran performer at this point too. So, like, I think she can add some stability back into WWE and whatnot. And then I think that also clearly illustrates that Mercedes is going to absolutely show up at AEW. That deal is most likely done, from what I understand. And Sasha is all elite. And we'll see what they do with her now. But
that's a car crash and a car crash meeting each other.
Yeah, I don't know what her deal is going to be, or where she fits in with AEW, or if there's any room. But
she stops doing that finishing move.
Yeah, that's all I got. You guys got anything else? I didn't think so. Byron, you don't have anything else important to say?
No,
you don't. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We're back, kind of. I don't know when or if we'll do another one of these again sometime soon, but we figured today was the day to chime in. So until next time, stay calm and stay in the mix.
Penis.